Hello, my name's Kay Ashley and I'm an advanced EFT practitioner, and I'm doing a series of videos that hopefully will help some of you to get calmer and more focused and more back into the real you in this time of, well, I don't even know what to describe this time as, because it feels like the world is facing something that it hasn't really faced before in peacetime. And so this is new, and it's new for us all, and new things are understandably scary. And when we get scared, we go into a response called the fight or flight response. And that what happens then is that it's that our brain has perceived a threat, and it assumes, because that's the only thing it can do, is it assumes that threat is physical. Now, I know we're dealing with a virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19, which is obviously physical, and it is a physical problem. However, it's not something that our evolved system, our fight or flight system, will help with. What this stress response does, this automatic stress response that you've probably heard it called the fight or flight response, that's designed for our physical survival, as far as can we fight our way out of the situation, can we run from it, can we hide for long periods of time and stay very, very still, like the freeze response, or can we just play dead and, hopefully the attacker will go away. Now, if none of those responses are going to actually help us, which it won't with the virus, and it's not just the virus, it's everything else. It's the idea of maybe being isolated indoors, like how, are the shops going to be open? Are we going to be able to go to work? All those kinds of things, concerns for our family, and all of those threats that our brain is perceiving. We can't run or fight any of those. So we need a different way. We need a way to be able to come out of the stress response as often as we can. And I see this more as a chipping away. Don't see this as a one-off, I feel better now, I'm done. See this more as something that you can work on. And if this virus will have anything positive, it will be that maybe as a whole society now we'll begin to see that stress stress management, good proper stress management, is a real life skill that we need, and that building our resilience is actually very, very important. Now, the problem that happens when we go into the stress response is that our immune system gets taken offline, because this stress response assumes it's only going to be on, in action for a little while. It thinks it's only going to need to be on for sort of 5 minutes or half an hour, time for us to run away or fight, and then it's over. And our brain will notice that the threat is over and everything goes back to normal. But the problem with these sort of emotional, these fears, our brain still sees that as a threat, but what happens is there isn't an end as such, is there? I mean, this could go on for a long time for us, and so we need to find a way of calming our brain down and showing our brain that actually we're not in physical danger. As scary as it might be, we are actually okay, and we're okay to take back control of our brains. We come back into the conscious us that makes good decisions, and that us that makes good decisions is the one that we need to have control of at the moment. So I'm going to show you an exercise that I developed, because, as I said, I'm an EFT practitioner, but I also find that when we are in the fear response, I suffered a lot from anxiety, and when we are in that kind of state, it's actually very difficult to sit down, get really focused in on doing tapping. That's why I like these tap along videos, because you can turn one on and you can just follow through. But you're not always going to be in front of a video. And so I'd like to show you this technique that I used that got me out of anxiety. And all it really is, it kind of comes from mindfulness. I've kind of taken lots of different areas of different practices and things that I've learned and valued over the years, and I've put them all together. So it's a little bit of breath work, it's a little bit of tapping, it's a little bit of mindfulness, little bit of body work, and a little bit of psychology. And so rolled it all together, we have this, system that actually really worked for me, and it is working very well for many other people too. So I think it's worth sharing it out here for you. And I call it the check-in system, because what we're actually doing is we're checking in with ourselves. And once you get good at this, you can do this within about 30 seconds. So what we're doing is we're checking in with ourselves, and by doing this, we are showing our subconscious brain, because we can't talk to it. We can't say, hey, I'm all right. I'm sure you've proved that to yourself before when you said, I'm never going to whatever. And then a little while later, you might be feeling particularly down or cold or tired or whatever, and you find yourself doing that thing. And so that's because it's actually our subconscious mind that is running the show more than our conscious. So what we need to do is we need to show this subconscious, because it doesn't have the power of language, but it does notice things. It's constantly scanning the environment to find out how we are, what's going on. And so it notices things, positive and negative. And so if we show it that we actually feel better, our brain will generally want to move towards pleasure and away from pain. So the more we show our brain that we're actually okay, even though, we might have stuff going on, it will notice that we are feeling better, that we get on and we solve our problems better, that, we're enjoying the moment better. When we do this, it will offer it to us faster and faster as a alternative. So our brain will always go into the fight or flight first, because it's an automatic response. But this is really a way of training your brain to have this other response that you can choose to go into, and bit by bit it will get easier and easier. So let's give it a go. So the first thing I want you to do is just take a very gentle breath in, just a really gentle one, and then let it all the way out. Really empty those lungs, really get it all out, and then really gently and slowly just let it all back in again. Really expand those lungs, feel that extra air. Might make you feel a tiny bit lightheaded to start with, and then let it all out again very slowly. Really empty those lungs very gently, and then let it all the way back in again. And now as you just bring your breath back to normal, I want you to start tapping on the side of your hand. That's literally right on the fleshy part between your little finger and your wrist. I'm just going to tap on that continuously while we do this. So you've had your breath, you're just doing the tapping. Now what I want you to do, which is probably a bit harder if you're not used to this, is just to acknowledge how you feel right now. Now I don't want you to get into it, I don't want you to start going into a big story. Just acknowledge how you feel. And if you don't really know how you feel, it may be easier to find what your body's doing. So are you feeling some particular tension somewhere? Maybe your stomach or your chest. Maybe your shoulders are, quite tight. Or if you are aware that you're feeling fear, or you're feeling sadness, maybe you feel generally anxious, whatever it is, just acknowledge it. We're not here to fix it right now. We're just noticing it. We don't have to run from this. It's okay. We're tapping. We're sending lovely calming signals to our brain right now. The same with the slow breath. So we've showed our brain that actually, even though we've acknowledged that we don't feel good, we're not running or fighting. So we don't need the stress response. So what I'd like you to do now that you've acknowledged how you feel, is remind yourself, okay, that this moment now, this particular moment, all you have to do is be here in this moment. You're watching this video, and if you were doing this on your own, you would just be on your own, and nothing else really bad is happening right now. So right now you're safe. Doesn't matter what might be happening later or tomorrow or next week. You don't have to do any of those things. Right now, just be here. Just absorb yourself in this moment. And I'd like you just to consider that this moment is the only moment that's ever real. Because the scenarios that we think about of what we are thinking might happen later, it's just our best guess or our imagination or whatever it is. It's a story that we're telling ourselves of something that might happen. And how many times have you told yourself a story, particularly a negative one, and then it hasn't happened anything like as bad as you've thought, and afterwards you've realised just how much energy you've expended and how tired you are just because you worried so much. So this isn't about pretending it's all okay. It's just saying, I don't have to do that right now. I'm here, and that's the only real moment. And consider how many moments in your life that you really haven't been able to do. Out of all the millions and billions of moments that each of us lived, if you can remember a handful that were so bad that you really couldn't deal with them, and compare that to the absolute millions and millions and millions of other moments that you could, it does help get it into perspective. And I'd also say to you that all of those moments that you felt you couldn't do, you did, because you're here. So well done. And the chances are that these moments that we're perhaps frightened of that might come, they might come, but they might not. And so why don't we make a pact with ourselves to deal with things as they come, moment by moment, using our wisdom and obviously planning ahead, but without the fear. Okay. So if you only have to do this moment right now, nothing bad's happening right now, is it? Okay. So I'm just going to run that through with you because obviously I did that in a little bit of detail for you. Now this is what I want you to do when you just did this for yourself. So take a breath, let it out. Let it in. And as your breath goes slower, start tapping. And as you start tapping, just acknowledge how you feel. Okay, am I a bit fearful, a bit tense, worried about something particular? Okay, I'm not getting into it, but I acknowledge it's there. I'm looking at it. Okay, that's what I'm worried about. And now I'm going to turn my attention to this moment. And this moment right now is the only moment that's real. And I only have to do this moment. And it's okay to be fully here in this moment. And just acknowledge that. And that's it. So that's, I don't even know how long that was. That was probably not even 30 seconds. You could take a little longer about acknowledging how you feel. And, it would take you about 30 seconds when you get used to it. And what I'd say to you is, do this first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And many times in between. So I, to get myself out of anxiety, I did this each time I turned the kettle on and each time I went to the bathroom. Because both of those things are times when we allow ourselves a couple of minutes to ourselves, whether you're at work or at home and it's all busy and you switch that kettle on, you just give yourself permission to have a minute for you and do this little exercise. If you're in company, you could drop the tapping if you wanted to and just perhaps focus a little more on your breath. Or if you're perhaps in a traffic jam and you're not wanting to tap, just take the breath and just acknowledge that. Oh, dog's off. So I'll probably use that as time to say goodbye. And I hope this has been helpful. On my in my group, my Freedom Tappers group, I do this mini training for free in there. So if you look on Facebook for freedomtappers.com, and I'll pop a link somewhere wherever you will happen to see this. And if you want to come in there, it's free and it's all in there in units. So I expand it out and explain it all to you a little bit more. Okay, sorry about the dog barking. Lots of love. Bye-bye.